This is the number one reason why 99% of fitness coaches fail within their first 6 months of coaching. And no, it's not because of time. And it's not that the fitness coaching industry is too saturated, because it is in fact not. If you put yourself in a blue ocean market, you can be extremely successful as a fitness coach. And I can promise you, as someone that got to over 10K without a qualification, it's definitely not because of a lack of qualifications. There's always going to be someone out there more qualified than you, with more knowledge than you. And you might be thinking that if it's not because of time, not because of the lack of qualifications I have, or the fact that the fitness coaching industry is too saturated, what could it actually be? And I'm about to explain that one thing, that if you change, you're going to be one of the fitness coaches that doesn't die out, that is able to build a successful, sustainable online fitness coaching business that they can use to even retire if they want. Obviously not fully retire, but live a life where they can have that financial freedom, where they can travel, so that you can earn 3 to even 5K per month relatively easily, doing what you actually enjoy and what you actually are passionate about, instead of working a job that you do not give a fuck about. So if that's the case, and it's that easy, you might think, okay, Ned, if that's the case, why 99% of the coaches actually fail? And generally, it is actually way more simple than most people think. Most people put it down to complex systems, complex metrics, complex way of creating content, complex ads, all these things. But it comes down to one key element, one key model. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to one simple thing, and that is leverage. Because if you can have the most leverage, 1 hour of the time you put in is going to equal 10 hours of the time that someone with low leverage puts in. And here's what it actually looks like. So you might have high leverage, right? And if you can imagine leverage as a cone like this. Someone that has high leverage, their cone looks like this. This is their input here, and this is the sort of output it creates. And someone with low leverage, their cone looks like this. They put in all this time, and then the time just gets diluted and gives little result. So how can you be the high leverage coach that gets the maximum results for the least amount of time? And by the way, if you're a coach that is actually willing to work super hard, and you also have high leverage, this is what your cone looks like. It has a wide base at the top, but instead of narrowing down in the middle, it just goes even wider. So this is high leverage, because you put in this amount of time, which is still a lot, but you get all of this out. So the aim is simply to be as leveraged as you possibly can. So the way you can look at this is like, imagine that this is like a seesaw, right? And you've got a line across. This line, because it's really wide here, allows this to go up really easy. So as you push down on this, you get a big on this, because it's very easy for this. And that's simply because it's very easy for this to go into this, right? Because you don't have to use as much force because this side is longer. That is high leverage. You're putting in an effort that is minimum, but because you have the odds in your favor, you're getting a lot out of it. Which is why you get this, which is where this point is facing right up to the top, very easy. I hope this is making sense. And this is what the whole thing of the 80-20 rule is. 80% of your actions give you 20% of your results, where 20% of your actions give you 80% of your results. And these are the ones you need to focus on. Where I see most fitness coaches focusing on these, focusing on the app that they need to create. What does my training app look like? How many qualifications can I get? Where there's coaches like me focusing on these 80% things. What are the actual strategies, models, methods that I need to be using to actually get more clients online? Because as you train clients, you're going to be more qualified anyway. You're going to be more qualified simply by doing more reps, right? So the main thing is like not to be focusing on these low leverage tasks. And what this would look like, if we do the same analogy, is you have this seesaw here and you have this little thing for this massive lever. And if you want this arrow to face up, you've got to put so much momentum down on this point here, because this point here hasn't got the leverage as the same side as this. Because if you look at this on, you push down up here and this is going to go straight up, because there's much more of a lever to push down on this side. So like a small push on this, if you put like a finger on it, take that way up. If you go onto this one, you have to really push hard on that for that to go up, because this side's going to be heavier, it's longer. For this to look like this, it's going to be super hard, that you're going to have to push so much down on this point here. And this is called load. I hope this kind of explains leverage, because this is probably the key point that most people miss out. So if you're focusing on all this stuff, and this is like how your leverage is, because you're focusing on the apps, you're focusing on how to get your, perfect qualifications, or you're focusing on how to make your Instagram look pretty, or you're focusing on like finding the right time. It is all super low leverage things. Or even you might be one of the people that just continues to plan how they're going to do it and then not taking any action to do it. Because planning, right, in the initial stages, maybe in the first few days or the first week, it's high leverage. Like you get quite a lot out of that. You pull a lever and a lot goes out. But planning in the long term ends up becoming so low leverage because you're trying to do a lot of work, you're spending a lot of time planning, yet you're getting a little out of it. So you're going to have to really, like, you could push the planning side as much as you want, but that's going to give you way less. And that's going to be one of the 80% of the actions that gives you 20% of the results. Unless you're someone that just plans for the short term and it gets a lot out of it in the long term. So what you want to do, there's a few key things that if you focus on, you will be successful as a coach. 3 things. If you could do these 3 things, like you're going to gym and check yourself, because you're going to be one of the coaches that doesn't just focus on all the low leverage activities, doesn't just like keep complaining about what they don't have, and you start focusing on what you do have. So the first thing is just creating an offer. So simple. You probably hear every single coach talk about creating. The reason why it's high leverage is that's actually what you're going to bring people in for. Creating a good offer makes marketing easier. It makes, if you're running ads, cheaper. It's going to mean that you're going to have less followers because you're going to have a better offer that more people want, right? So that's really hard. Remember, your one thing, these are your 20% actions that give you 80% of the results, yeah? So the second thing you need to do is actually start posting daily. And obviously, when I go over stuff with students, I go over the funnels, the systems, and all these things in place. But if you're someone watching this and you're in the early days, the main thing is that you create really good offer and you start posting daily. I could give you some crazy tactics, some crazy things, but honestly, these are what most coaches don't do. Like I see loads of coaches spending all the time designing fancy apps, like thinking about fancy funnels, but they're not doing anything to get new people to come to their doorstep. And they haven't even got anything that's really solid to sell. It's like, okay, well, you could do all these fancy things, but you're going to be doing 80% things that give you 20% of the results. In the long term, obviously, you're going to need a better funnel. Obviously, you're going to need more planning. But in the short term, and even in the long term, you're going to have to do these 2 things. And the third thing, and probably most of you guys are focusing on this, is literally just conversion. And by conversion, it kind of splits into 2. 1 is actually conversations. I'm not going to finish that. And then 2 is sales. If you can literally just do more reps of this, so you can start more conversations, because you're posting, you have people liking your content, you have people following you, that's meant to be you have people even commenting on your content. You don't just have to start combos with the people that follow you. You can start combos with the people that comment, you can start combos with the people that like, you can start commenting on other people's content, you can start liking other people's content, and start combos, because this is where the conversion happens. And if you look at all these 3, it's actually a funnel in itself. It's just an extremely simple funnel. You create your offer, you post to get more traction, you post to spread awareness and build people up on your offer. You then start converting, so you look for conversations, and then you turn the combos into sales pros. And with sales, all you're focusing on is just getting reps in the early days. Like, this is generally going to be the 80% action, or the 20% action that gives 10% of the results. Even watching sales training in the early days is an 80% action. Because if you're not on sales calls, the biggest thing that's going to get you the best results isn't watching sales trainings. It's actually going to be doing sales, starting the combos and having those sales throughs. So if you want to be one of the 1% coaches that actually succeeds because they take the 20% actions that get them 80% of the results, then if you do the 3 things, which is offer, content, conversion, and you focus purely on these 3 things, then you will be. And then after you've done these 3 things, in the early days, that's where you need to then focus massively on fulfilled. But most of you, they're already looking too much at fulfillment, already looking too much at these random things before you've even done these 3 consistent. And you need to keep doing these 3 consistently for a long period of time as well. Like, even when you start going on fulfillment, you need to do these things. So don't overly think about what content you're posting. You don't need to watch any more YouTube videos on content. Don't overly think about the offer you're creating. Just get an offer out there that you can start posting content about. Think about what would be high value to you 1 year ago. 1 year ago or 3 years ago, I would say 3 years is best. What would be the highest value thing for you? What would you have been like, fuck, I would pay money for that. I do a lot for that thing like that. And create your offer around that. And then content, just start posting once every day, once a day. And this is going to get you a lot of traction. Conversions, start speaking to 20 to 30 people a day. And you can do this however you like. Get as creative as possible. It doesn't just have to be to Instagram. Be to email, be through phone, be in person. And if you do these 3 things, yes, they're not sexy. Yes, they're not amazing. And if I work with someone one-on-one, they're definitely part of it. But if you're someone that's just like doing coaching, you're not really taking any steps, and you're most likely going to put yourself in a position where you can fail, then these are going to be those 20% actions for it, because this is going to get you the most results. I hope this was helpful. If you want me to post my full funnel that I use like day in, day out to run a successful online coaching business, 6-figure fitness coaching business, then you can comment below or subscribe. Then if you like this video below, I'll actually post that so you guys can get access to my full funnel that I use. That is probably going to give you the highest leverage you could possibly imagine. And then we're going to kill it. Speak to you guys soon. Peace.